Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. What I am going to talk about tonight is communication. And I know that generally we have another speaker come on, but I thought it would be fun to share with you myself tonight. And I have a couple short PowerPoints that we're going to share tonight to talk about communication. And I know many of you have been on our previous workshops on communication, so you know some of the tips and tricks of communication, but it's always good to have a refresher and we might learn something new along the way. So really quick, my name is Sandy Pricer. I'm the CEO and co-founder of RiseUP Cooperative. We bring life and leadership workshops to teens and at-risk youth. And through that, we do it with different organizations or schools. Also, I am a mother of 6. They range in ages from 9 to 17. And trying to think what else I should share about myself. My background's in social services. I was a caseworker for a little bit. I guess that's really it. But what I want you guys to do is if you would please keep your cameras on, yourselves muted unless you have a question or you've been asked a question. And then that way background noises aren't disturbing to other people. Kind of like if my dogs bark in a minute, that's going to be disturbing to you. So we don't want a lot of other people doing the same thing. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen and show you. Let's see. I'm going to switch screens if I'm able. So again, we are talking about, that's not coming up right. There we go. Communication. So people use communication in lots of different ways to communicate their what. Actually, if you guys want to unmute and you can just jump in conversation, you can. So we want to communicate our feelings virtually, not virtually as in what we're doing right now, but basically by writing a note and through facial expressions. So in this lesson, we are going to compare the forms of communication, which include passive communication, aggressive communication, assertive communication. We're going to develop communication skills that you need to build healthy relationships with your family, friends, peers, and others. We're going to demonstrate communication skills that show respect for self, family, friends, and others. So basic communication skills, to be an effective communicator, it means you correctly need to interpret the message you receive, which is what you get from somebody else, and that you respond to that person appropriately. So 3 basic skills in order for that effective communication are speaking, what I'm doing now, listening, what you're doing now, and body language, what I'm doing as I speak with my hands. So I mentioned a minute ago, different communication styles, and those were passive, aggressive, and assertive. So does anybody want to read for me what passive communication means? No? Okay. Passive communicators do not stand up for themselves or defend their attitudes or beliefs. There are very few teenagers that I have met in my life who are passive communicators. They want to make sure that their voice is heard, and they want to make sure that they are not misunderstood. That is a broad generalization. I'm really referring to my 6 children. Sorry, I love you guys. But it's okay not to be passive, and it's okay to be passive. It's just depending on your personality and how you communicate. Aggressive communicators often try to get their way through bullying and intimidation. Assertive communicators defend their attitudes and their beliefs by respecting the rights of others. So think about this for a minute. Passive, aggressive, and assertive, and what I just told you they mean. Think about which one of those 3 you are. So speaking skills, you demonstrate good speaking skills when you clearly say what you mean. When you change your tone, your pitch, or your loudness, you can affect your communication. When you use I messages, it can help you communicate your feelings positively without blame and without name calling. So what are I messages? Does anybody want to take a guess? No? So an I message is a statement in which a person describes how he or she is feeling by using the word I. So stating your feelings effectively, when you are an aggressive message giver, you're going to yell something like, "You idiot, you took my favorite jacket and you got paint all over it. You ruined it and you'll have to pay for it. Why are you always late? It's really annoying. Why do you always have to get what you want? You never do what I suggest." That's aggressive. Here's an assertive. I'm upset that my favorite jacket was borrowed without my knowledge. I worry about you when you don't show up. I'll agree to have Mexican food today if I can pick the restaurant the next time we go out. Does anyone want to practice being aggressive or assertive with one of those demonstrations? Blake, how about you pick one of those and show us what aggressive or assertive is? You don't have to read all three of those examples in one of them. Just pick one.
Just read one.
Just read one. Pick one under aggressive or assertive and read it the way that it's supposed to be.
I worry about when you don't show up. I worry about you when you don't show up.
Izzy, will you pick one? Either aggressive or assertive, and read it the way it's meant to be perceived. It's okay. You only have to read one. Are you having trouble? It's okay. Jake, pick one for me and read it the way it's supposed to be read.
I am upset that my favorite jacket got borrowed without my knowledge.
That's good. So you both, Blake and Jake, you picked the assertive, which makes me think that maybe you lean toward assertiveness when you are communicating with somebody instead of aggressively, which is good. So listening skills, you can make sure you use active listening by improving your communication skills. Active listening includes or involves giving your full attention to whatever the speaker is saying without interrupting or making judgments. So when you're listening to someone talk and all you're thinking about is, when will this be over? What is she going to say next? I have a question I want to ask. That isn't being an active listener. Does anybody want to try to give a definition of active listening before I click on this? Oops, sorry, I did anyway. So active listening is paying close attention to what someone else is saying or communicating. So tips for active listening. You make direct eye contact. Now that's kind of hard to do when you are on a video call like this. You use body language and signals which show you are listening, which shows Izzy isn't listening to me, but Blake and Jake are. And I appreciate that. When you don't interrupt the speaker, and that's why you're on mute, and you are on mute so that you don't interrupt the speaker with your background noises. When you put away prejudices, images, or assumptions, like if you came on here tonight and you're like, I know all about communication and I'm not going to learn anything. When you don't think about those things and you come on knowing that you might learn something, that's putting away assumptions and prejudices against the speaker. So techniques for active listening. Reflective listening means you rephrase or you summarize what the other person has said. Blake, can you tell me something? Anything. Just give me a sentence.
sentence about anything.
Anything.
The weather's good today.
You know, Blake, the weather is good today. I agree. Do you see how I rephrased or I repeated what you said to show you that I was listening? Clarifying. You ask questions to help you understand what is being said. Jake, can you ask me a question?
Just like any question.
Any question?
How is your? How are you doing so today?
How am I doing so far today?
Yeah.
I basically just clarified by repeating what he said. I clarified it. I made sure that I understood what he said by repeating the question. Encouraging. You encourage the speaker to signal that you are interested and involved. When you guys are looking at the cameras, it appears that you're paying attention. It appears that you're making eye contact, that you're listening actively. And that encourages me and gives me a signal that you're interested and involved. When you start doing this, that makes me think that you're not interested. You're not involved in the conversation or in the workshop. Empathizing. Imagine and understand how the other person feels. How do we do that one? Does anybody have an idea? How do we empathize? So let's say somebody said to you, Jake asked me how my day was going. If I said, I'm having a really bad day. I had a flat tire and I got mud all over my shoes. To empathize with me, you could imagine how you would feel if you had gotten mud all over your shoes and you were stuck on the side of the road with a flat tire. Imagine how that would feel. And then respond to the person after imagining how that would feel. That is empathizing. So your nonverbal communication is your body language. And I kind of already discussed that a little bit. It's when you nod or you shake your head, when you show that you agree or disagree with something that's been said. When you hold yourself in a tense posture, that means you're nervous or you're worried. Your nonverbal communication can be subtle. And it can take place with you not even knowing it, which means unconscious level. If your words and your body language seem to contradict each other, the person you're speaking to may be confused or unsure what to believe. If you ever had someone say to you, I'm not so sure if you're telling me the truth, it might be because what you're saying and your body language are showing different things and they're contradicting each other. So some things that can get in the way of clear communication are image and identity issues, unrealistic expectations, lack of trust, a prejudice against the person or the topic that the person is presenting, and gender stereotyping. So many teens spend a large part of their teen years trying to figure out who they are, what they're supposed to do in the world, who they're going to become, what they're going to be like, what their personality is. And if someone is unsure of his or her values, the uncertainty can complicate the communication process. With unrealistic expectations, you must avoid imposing unrealistic, that's a tongue tie, unrealistic expectations on your listener. This may cause the individual to become frustrated or defensive if you put unrealistic expectations on them. If you expect me to be hilarious and keep you laughing and rolling the whole time that we're doing this workshop, you're going to be frustrated and I'm going to be defensive. Do not put unrealistic expectations on the person you're talking to. Lack of trust. So good communication is built between two people that trust each other. And if you believe that you can count on the person, that they're going to keep your secret, that they're going to tell you the truth, that you're confident in them, then communication is going to be good. If you do not trust them, if you do not believe what they're saying, if you do not think they're going to keep your secret, then communication is very difficult. Prejudice prevents a person from having an open mind and listening to new information. To avoid developing prejudices, you can demonstrate tolerance. Being tolerant helps you understand the differences among people and recognize the value of diversity. Does anybody know what a prejudice is anyway? Any guesses? Prejudice is an unfair opinion or judgment of a particular group of people. Does anybody know what tolerance is? What does it mean to tolerate somebody or to have tolerance? Tolerance is the ability to accept others' differences and allow them to be who they are without your expressing your disapproval. And then gender stereotyping is a type of prejudice that involves having an exaggerated or oversimplified belief about people of a certain gender. And assuming that all males like sports and all females enjoy cooking are examples of gender stereotyping. I know in my house, that isn't 100% true. I have several sons that love to cook and several daughters that enjoy watching sports. So constructive criticism is intended to bring about positive changes, but does anybody know what that even means? Constructive criticism. No? It means non-hostile, which means not angry or aggressive or meanly stated comments that point out problems and encourage improvement. So I've been a homeschooling mom since, I don't know, many years. And I like to give constructive criticism. My children don't always enjoy it, but it is very helpful in helping you learn how to improve yourself without someone yelling at you or being mean. You may find that giving the person feedback in a more positive manner helps him or her and your relationship. It is very important to begin your discussion by using the word I. I see that you tried really hard with this assignment. Let's write it neater next time to make it even better. So point out what the person is doing or has done and suggest a different way to do it or a better way to do it. Expressing yourself. Receiving respect, admiration, appreciation with grace and sincerity can help you build and maintain healthy relationships. It shows that you do not take the relationships for granted, and it demonstrates good sportsmanship and character. So now it's question and answer time, and I'm going to need you to answer these questions, or I'm going to awkwardly sit on it until someone gives me an answer. So question number 1, what is an unfair opinion or judgment of a particular group of people? Go ahead. Whenever you know the answer, just unmute and say it.
Number 2.
Prejudice. Everyone agree? Prejudice is an unfair opinion or judgment of a particular group of people. Good job. Number 2, which one of the following is not included in the forms of communication? Number 3, Blake's holding up. Sleeping. That is correct. Communication does not involve sleeping. However, there are some wives that like to talk to their husbands when they're asleep. Which one of the following is not an example of active listening? I think my kids would get this wrong. Blake and Jake have it wrong. Izzy, you got it right. Staring is not an example, hang on, of active listening. Just staring at a person and not responding is not a form of communication. Which one of the following includes communication skills that demonstrate consideration and respect for self, family, and others? Wishing you were paying closer attention, huh? All right, there are 2 answers up so far. All right, let's see who was right. Oh, all of the above, Izzy. Good job. Communication skills that demonstrate consideration and respect for self, family, and others include all of them: tolerance, constructive criticism, and nonverbal communication. Good job, guys. I've got one more. Before we go into that, does anybody have any questions about what we just discussed on communication? No? Okay. I've got one more thing I want to, and oh, I'm at the end of it. Oops. Okay. All right. So I want to talk to you about these. It's getting to know the power of effective presentation skills, and that goes hand in hand with communication. So what makes a good public speaker? These are some of the things that we're going to talk about: how to communicate, 10 rules for effective presentations. Okay, right here. So traditional definition of communication is right here, and it shows the presenter and the receiver receiving the information, and that's it. Huh. But what we just learned earlier shows this. What you give me as the receiver or the perceiver makes a difference in what I'm giving, right? You have to interact with me in order for me to give you that information, and that's why it's in a circle. So, did you guys know there are 3 V's to communication? Verbal, vocal, the way you say it, and visual, my body language and what I'm showing you. So which one is most important?
Visual.
Visual, my body language and what I'm showing you. What I say and how I say it do not matter as much as my body language and my nonverbal communication. 10 simple rules for an effective presentation. So know your audience. So when I was preparing for this, I had to think about the people that were in my audience were going to be 13 to 17 years old. What kind of teenagers are they going to be? How are they going to be feeling? Am I going to know that? Not necessarily, but can I read that as I see them on the screen? Yeah. So how to tell this story? Well, I've been painting you pictures, either with visuals on my screen or your screen, or with what I've been sharing with stories. I've been expressing emotion. I haven't been talking like this the whole time, or you would be very bored and already been asleep, right? I've been giving you emotion and tone and what I've been sharing. I'm illustrating or proving a point with the way I'm talking to you. I'm also, it's not as easy as it sounds, but keep it simple, stupid, and short. When you're talking to someone, no one wants to listen to you drag on and on and on about a topic, right? They want you to keep it simple, to their level or below, and short and concise. My oldest daughter, I would always say to her, summarize, because she would want to tell these long stories. And while sometimes I would want to listen, or not sometimes, I would always want to listen, but sometimes I would find myself daydreaming or thinking about what to make for dinner or what the other child's doing over there in the corner or whatever. My mind will wander and not even realize it. So body language is huge. We've already discussed that earlier on one of those other slides, right? So when you stand with your arms crossed and your legs crossed, you're acting defensive, closed off. You're not ready to hear the person. You're not ready to talk to the person. You're not ready to engage. That closes yourself and the other people around you off. But if you see the two guys with their hands kind of open and their stance open, that's open. They're open for communication. They're open to discuss things. If you see two, they are all dressed sharply. I'm not saying you have to go wear a suit and tie or a sweater and boots. No. But if you're dressed in holy, slouchy, dirty, smelly, whatever clothes, no one's going to want to approach you and have a conversation with you like you would if you were dressed presentably, clean cut, smelling good, dressed nice as far as your clothes are clean, they're not torn up. You want to be approachable. So here, you're building rapport with the other people. Rapport means you're able to connect. You're able to listen. You can mirror what they're saying. If they're sitting forward listening to you, you should sit forward and listen to them. If you're trying to make sure you relate to the person, you're trying to build a relationship with them, you're trying to identify with them, you're showing respect to them and they're showing respect to you by listening. So you want to vary your delivery. My projection, if you've noticed, there are a couple times where I've talked louder or I've talked lower. I've shared more enthusiastically than other times, trying to vary my projection to keep you interested and engaged. My articulation, if you've noticed, I hope there aren't any or very many words that you haven't been able to understand because I'm working to articulate what I'm saying so that you can understand this message that I'm giving you. My pitch, I am making sure that I am pitching to you and not away from you or down low or over here. I'm making sure that you can hear me. Right. I am making sure that I am not talking too fast so that you can understand me because I talk too fast in my pitch and I'm like, see, or that I'm talking too slow because then it would be boring, right? So the rate at which you speak is important as well. Be sincere. There are 3 things to aim at in public speaking. First, your subject. What are you talking about? Then your subject relating to yourself and the subject relating to the heart of your audience. Why am I speaking about this? And why am I speaking about it to you? What is the point? So avoid distracting visuals, verbals, and vocals. If I was sitting here making funny noises, that would really be distracting, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would be distracting. Or if I had a funny, I don't know, I don't have anything over here. If I had something funny, waving it in the air, that would be distracting as well. Make sure you're not distracting the people that you're speaking to. Remember, we talked about this on the last slideshow. Make eye contact, right? See those beautiful blue eyes? All eyes are beautiful, but in this black and white picture, those blue eyes really stand out, don't they? Be prepared. Practice, practice, practice. If you have a presentation for school that you have to do, are you going to walk into class and not know what you're going to say or do? Or are you going to be prepared? Are you going to write notes? Are you going to practice what you're going to say and do before you get in there so that you can be the best that you can be in your presentation? You don't go out in the soccer field without having practiced, do you? You don't go out on the football field to play the drums without having practiced, do you? Practice is important. So structuring your presentation, I already talked about what is the purpose of it? Who are you presenting to? What do they already maybe know? You don't want to bore them with things they already know, right? But a review is okay. What do they need to know? What is the key message? And how long do I have? So if I have 30 minutes, I am not going to go for an hour. If I have 30 minutes, I am not going to go for 10 minutes. Respect other people's time. And when you say it's going to be a certain length, it needs to be a certain length. ERS principle, explain it. I'm telling you about communication. I started this workshop explaining to you the different types of communication and why it's important. Reinforce it. I told stories throughout. I showed examples throughout. And at the end, you summarize it. You tell them what they learned in a short, concise KISS manner. What did KISS stand for? Keep it short, simple. Nope. What did I say? What? Hang on. I forgot already. Ooh. Keep it simple, stupid, and short. That doesn't spell KISS, does it? Too many S's in that. Nobody noticed that, huh? All right. So like I just said, that's basically what I said. So you got to own your platform. You got to make sure that they know that you're meant to be there. Don't act shy. Don't act nervous. Don't act worried. Talk about your audience, not to them. You guys notice that I kept talking about you guys and not at you. So facts and figures can be really boring. I know that some of you have been on workshops with us before, that there were a lot of facts and stats put on the screen and it wanted to put us to sleep, right? So you got to make sure you don't do that. You got to keep their attention. You got to keep it lively. You got to ask questions. You got to surprise them like I did with the questions earlier on the slideshow. So the end, summarize, highlight the key message, and go back to your opening story. Just as the comedian should leave them laughing, the speaker should leave them thinking. Oh, by the way, use of PowerPoint. When you use PowerPoints for your presentations, for your class assignments, do not put more writing on the presentation that you're going to share with them, because all they'll be doing is reading the PowerPoint. They won't be listening to you, okay? So be calm, be honest, be open-minded, be prepared when you do your school projects, your presentations. So that's a summary of what I just talked about. Does anybody have any questions? No? All right. So typically our workshops are 30 to 60 minutes long. It has been 35 minutes. So short and sweet. We kissed it tonight. If there are no questions, I'm not going to keep you any longer. I will let you go. I greatly appreciate you being here tonight, and I hope that you maybe learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to email me later. Also, this was recorded, as you know, so you can always get the recording from me and watch it again later if there's something that you need that you've forgotten. And next week, I was going to tell you who was presenting next week, but I don't have it written down for some reason, and I've forgotten. I can't think of it off the top of my head. So check our website and or our Facebook page and find out who our next presenter is. It's going to be fantastic. So thank you again and have a wonderful evening. Bye.